Hey guys, it's Alyssa here, and today I shall be doing my July end reading rush wrap up and my TBR jar pick for August. Overall, I had a pretty decent reading month. In the month of July, I ended up reading 12 books. I read 3 books off of my physical TBR. 2 of them were from my classics TBR, and then 1 of them was from just my plain old regular TBR. So it was a successful month. I liked a lot of what I read. I read some so-so books, but overall it was a really good month. The first book that I read was Anne of Avonlea by L.M. Montgomery. If you watched my previous wrap-up or whatever, I don't know, I previously mentioned it in a video. This was my TBR jar pick for June that I didn't end up reading, that carried over into July, and I ended up reading it. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I really loved it. Actually, I loved it a little bit more than I loved the first one. I think I gave the first, I think I gave Anne of Green Gables 3 or 4 stars. I just thought it was okay, but I really love Anne as a character as she's growing up. I really love her. I think she's adorable and kind, and one of the things I really loved about her character was how kind she is to her students, which back then was not considered the norm at all. And I really loved how much she stood up for her students and how much she just wanted to be kind to them, and I really loved that a lot. The next book that I read was The ABC Murders by Agatha Christie. I bought this last month, I think, or the month before, I don't know. I just recently hauled it, the video before this. I hadn't had it on my radar. I do in the near future plan to pick up more Agatha Christie books, but this one I just saw and I really loved, so I picked it up and I read it and I really loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This is only my second Agatha Christie book. The first one that I read was so-so. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I really loved the formatting of this because this is a Poirot novel, and I don't know if all Poirot novels are formatted like this, but it was told from the perspective of his friend. It wasn't told from Poirot's perspective, and it would tell you when it was from his friend's perspective or when it was from another person's perspective. And I really liked how it was formatted, especially for it being such an old novel. It was kind of one of those moments where it was multiple points of view and you don't know who you're hearing from and you don't know who's done what. And I just thought the plot was really interesting. The plot twist was really interesting, and it kept me very engaged, and I really liked it. I'm excited to read more. The next book I read was, not gonna lie, hands down my favorite book of the month. It's going into my favorite books of the year. I forgot I put this on hold through the library, but I put on hold the audiobook through Overdrive. And I got it and I was like, oh wow, I forgot about that. Let me give it a shot, And oh my god, I am still thinking about this book. And that is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. Oh my gosh, this book. Talk about a book that you read where you don't like a single person. Do not go into this book if you're a person who has to like somebody, if you're the type of person who has to have a character that you connect with, or anything like that, because this is not one of those books. I don't want to say anything about it because I think it's a great book to just go into blindly and not know a single thing, but the plot, the pacing, the writing, the characters, and their complexities was so good that if you're the type of person who likes to read about awful people doing awful things for awful reasons, hands down recommend this book. I was shocked by how much I love this book. I would reread this book in the future probably because it was such a roller coaster, and it was so interesting because even though I somewhat knew what was going to happen and wasn't completely shocked, there were still tiny elements that surprised me. And it's just a nasty book, honestly, and I absolutely freaking loved it, and that's it. Next two, I didn't read back to back, but I'm just going to talk about them together, and that is Five Worlds, The Sand Warriors, and The Cobalt Prince, both of which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love these. I really love this. I love the plot, I loved the artwork, and it is visually really cool, and I really like the storyline, and it gives you enough in each volume to like satisfy you, but then like keeps you a little bit out of the loop as well, which I like. I'm excited to read the next volume in this series, and it's really fun and really entertaining. The next book that I read is Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Jomny Sun. This book has been on my radar for a very long time, and I finally got around to it. It was good. I gave it 4 to 5 stars, but it wasn't quite as good as I thought it would be. Probably like lower it on Goodreads to a 3. If you're looking for a graphic novel that kind of talks about mental health, but not in the actual talking about mental health and kind of hinting around mental health, then I guess you'd probably like this. It was nothing new. It was nothing that haven't read before. I think this is a great graphic novel for people who don't like graphic novels. It was cute, but I don't know. It kind of lacked both depth and artwork. I wasn't feeling either. Like, it would have been one thing if the artwork was stunning, but it was like stuff I had heard before, or the artwork was lacking, but like the depth of what I was reading was wonderful. And on to what I read for the reading rush. So I was originally going to have a vlog that I was going to publish after the reading rush was over, but I have issues with reading vlogs and me making them interesting, and by the end of me editing it, I just hated it, so I wasn't gonna upload it. A lot of my TBR ended up changing because I either started things and didn't like them, or I was an idiot and realized I wasn't as far into the Avatar: The Last Airbender graphic novel series as I thought I was. So I just done goofed a lot with my TBR. I'm actually not going to talk about them in order because, again, I read 2 books in a series and I want to talk about them together. And that is To Make Monsters Out of Girls and To Drink Coffee with a Ghost by Amanda Lovelace. 5 out of 5 stars, man. I love these poetry collections. I thought they were absolutely stunning. I like Amanda Lovelace. I do. I've liked her previous work. I wasn't crazy about The Princess Saves Herself in this one, and the last book in that series was just, again, okay for me, but I still enjoyed it. But this poetry series is so good that, like, if you were unsure or you were so about Amanda Lovelace, I really recommend reading this because I feel like her work is so elevated and so good, and I really loved the different topics that she talked about, and I loved how she talked about them. I feel like she's gotten really good at her craft, and it shows in these two, and I really connected to it. And I guess it was a really good sign that I connected to it so much, even though the things and topics that she was talking about I've never personally gone through. That's how, like, connected I felt. I was like, wow, I feel like almost like I've gone through this even though I haven't. That's how, like, into it and connected I felt to her words. The next book that I read was The Disasters by M.K. England. I absolutely love this. This was a book I found out about because the author had come to the area near me. I didn't end up meeting them, but it got on my radar that way. And holy crap, I absolutely love this. If I could, like, describe what combo of books this is, it reminded me a lot of the Lunar Chronicles, probably like Cress, where they're in space a lot, and then Gemina. Those two books combined reminded me a lot of this book. If you love sci-fi books, standalone sci-fi books, I haven't read many. I don't even know if I've read any, period. Standalone sci-fi books that are fun, that are diverse, you just devour. I really recommend this one. If I could describe one word, this novel, it would be fun. I'm so excited to read more from M.K. England in the future. I thought they did wonderful with this novel, and it fulfilled everything I wanted, so I can't recommend this enough. The next book that I read was Space Dumplings by Craig Thompson. I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. This was really solid. I didn't give it a 5 because I didn't feel like it's my new favorite or anything like that, but I liked the artwork, I liked the plot, and I like where it ended up. And if you like sci-fi standalone graphic novels, it was really solid. And I'll tell you once I'm done telling you all the things that I read, what badges I completed. The second to last book that I read this month was Persuasion by Jane Austen. That's me patting myself on the back because I read 2 classics this month and I still read 12 books. So yeah, this was okay. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I guess I'm like the only one on my Goodreads that rated it 3 out of 5 stars. I would like to watch an adaptation of this. I didn't end up getting to it this week. The thing about this is that to compare it to Pride and Prejudice, even outside of the romance for Pride and Prejudice, the other characters had their own things going on and other subplots that were interesting. This didn't have that. Outside of the romance, I was just like, okay, and then I felt like the end plot that kind of like felt like it suddenly popped up, like drama, didn't interest me. I didn't really care. It was just like, okay, and like that's how I felt about a lot of the other plots except for the romance. Really loved how the romance ended. I'm not gonna lie. How it wrapped up, and I'm very excited to see it play out through like a movie, but the letter he wrote had me feeling some type of way. I'm not gonna lie, because as I'm reading, I'm like, something better happen to make this more than like a 1 or 2 star, because if I didn't have an audiobook, your girl would have DNF'd this. And sure enough, the love letter he wrote her had me in my feels. It was so good. I was like, wow, man, that was something else. The very last book that I read in the month of July was The Battle for Wendla by Tony DiTerlizzi. Ooh, I love this book so much. Now that I've finished this series, I can say this is one of my favorite series of all time. I absolutely freaking love this series. This is such a good sci-fi series. The character development, the plot, the visuals in it. Throughout the entire book, basically for every chapter, there's an illustration, and it helps you visualize so much. The format of the series is great. Everything, I have 0 complaints. I loved how it ended. I loved everything that I got and all of the answers that I got. Couldn't have asked for a better ending to a series ever. Audiobook, physical book, both wonderful. Love this series. Hello, Editing Melissa here, and I'm gonna put on the screen right now all of the badges / challenges that I ended up completing. Right here, it's gonna be right here on the screen. Okay, enjoy. Thanks, bye. On to what classic I will be reading for August. Let's hope it's something easy that I don't have to worry about. I didn't like how not crunched up that one felt. You feel? Okay. You get to see first. Othello. Do I even still own that? I don't own Othello anymore. I recently unhauled a bunch of classics, or I recently unhauled a bunch of Shakespeare classics. So, just saying. If I get a Shakespeare book, I'm gonna throttle myself. Okay, well, I can't read this because this is the sequel to Little Women. So we're gonna leave that out of the jar, and I'm gonna pick again. You guys are really getting a long picking spurt this time. Okay. And what is it? King Lear. Oh, I don't want to read that. Why do I even have this? No, this is not a comedy, and I don't want to read it. So this is me unhauling it because I'm not gonna read that. I know I'm not even gonna like pretend to you that I would read that and like be like, oh, I just ended up reading it at the end of August, because like I'm not gonna read that. The Hobbit. Okay, I guess we'll do that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that excited. I guess we're reading The Hobbit. A little bit of a long story with this one. I only own The Hobbit. I don't own Lord of the Rings because I know I'm never gonna read it. But you can totally read The Hobbit. Not watch The Lord of the Rings. It's not relevant. But I'm actually, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully I can find a good audiobook because, you know, your girl doesn't do well with classics without audiobooks. I originally wanted to read this when, you know, like the movies were a big thing. But, you know, who even watched the last few movies? Aren't they supposed to be like redoing it or something? I don't know. It's been my July and Reading Rush wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to, let me know down below. If you read any of these books, I'd love to know your opinions on them. And that's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I shall see you in the next one. Bye.